Sorry, I was prepared but not prepared. My wife and I had a bet going on. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but we do bets sometimes, just periodically, about who shows up and who doesn't. And I leaned over and I said, "By the way, they're not here." And she's like, "God, you won." All right. She's like, and I said, "Say that again." She's like, "You're right." I was like, "I am right." All right. So, anyways, don't start the recording yet. Oh, by the way, too, we just so you know, the pastor and pastor's wife does wagers of who shows up and who doesn't. Also, I want to say something before we get started on this. I did mention it in the welcome, but oh my God, so much love and gratitude to Leslie Hall. Thank you so much. They just finished the parenting. Who in here was a part of that? Just, I'm curious. Yeah. So I will ask you, raising your hand. Everything all good? Beautiful. I love it. I mean, I've heard such great things. So thank you all. Leslie, thank you, Leslie, for leading the thing. Is amazing. Amazing. Okay. We've been in this conversation called The Human Experience, an exploration on how to be human. We've talked about so many things. What I want to do today is I want to kind of finish our little stint on emotions that we've been on for a while. So when you talk about being human, it's my first experience of it, your first experience of it. We're here together. There's so many things that we've been discussing. Foundation is it's just good to be human. And that's a good reminder. All right, if you don't get anything today, I hope that you get this. It's good to be alive. It's good to be in Atlanta. More specifically, it's good to be in Mableton. It's good to be at Vinings Lake. It's good to be here with you people. I'm going to say this. It's good to be me. And then check this out. It's good to be you. It's good to be us. And it's good to be here right now in this moment in time. It's just good to be human. That was like foundation. And then we've just made our way all the way through. Essence, consciousness, who are we really? The deep I, awareness. Then we talked a little bit about time, the space-time continuum, which all of us are like, what happened? Don't know. It was a Sunday. We had a day. And then we got into emotions. And so just to recap real fast, because you talk about the human experience, I don't know of a film that captures it better than, have you guys seen Inside Out? The Inside Out 2 just recently came out. Is there a better Pixar film? I don't know of one, all right? That's kind of where we've been at. That's inspired a lot of the series. I went to see the film with my nieces and nephew and Katie, and they were a little too young to pick up on some of the emotions, but some of them they did pick up on. But my nephew particularly was like, "What's that nostalgia thing? Tell me about that." I was like, "Don't worry, when you get older, it'll come, all right? It'll come in due time." I'm in that nostalgic stage right now. I mean, honestly, all my runs in the mornings, I've gone back to listen to the 1996, 97, 98 Christian music. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm running with Stephen Curtis Chapman right now. I flipped it all the way back. All right, I'm saddling up my horses and I'm doing my thing. And I'm unashamedly about it. I'm like, yeah, this is me. And there's many reasons when you get to a certain age in your life that you open the door and you just let nostalgia do its thing, all right? Because here's the thing. That's what we learned in week 1. Our culture, for whatever reason, many reasons actually, we don't know what to do with emotions. And so what we said in that first week was, you have permission to feel whatever it is you feel. You don't have to ignore, bottle, numb, minimize, deny, or apologize for your emotions. To feel is to be human. And I will remind you again, there are no good and bad emotions. Our culture has done that to us. We've been conditioned to believe sadness and anger are bad emotions, and happiness and joy are good emotions. And that's just not true. That's a lie that we've been conditioned to believe. Maybe a better phrase would be there are comfortable and uncomfortable emotions, but all emotions are good emotions because it's good to be human, and to feel is to be human. And so we started there. And then last week we talked a little bit about those that are over-emotional, or those that certainly don't need permission to feel their emotions. If anything, they need to be reminded that they are not their emotions. And many of you, perhaps you've had those moments, or you've had some experiences like that, or you know some people like that. And so we talked about how Jesus seemed to create a distance between his impulse and his actions. And so we talked about a big phrase here, emotional maturity. What does emotional maturity look like? And we said emotional maturity is when you are able to experience emotions without being controlled by those emotions. And why is that important? Because feelings are not always reliable. They're not always trustworthy. And so I just parked there again to say, I hope last week you had some experiences of emotional maturity. I hope that you had moments where you found the space we talked about. As Viktor Frankl said, there's a space between whatever happens to you and how you respond in that moment. And so I hope you found that space. Now, I also want to say to you, if you didn't, and this week was like one of the worst weeks where you're like, Pastor, there's no question, I just need to confess this. I'm an emotional, immature human, all right? If that's you, if you found yourself in moments where you weren't able to separate your feelings from your actions, your impulses from your actions, if you found yourself like in a space where it's like everything you felt, whatever impulse, you just acted on it, all right, or reacted on it, okay, I also want to say to you, go easy on yourself. Give yourself a little grace. Can we just give ourselves some grace today? I think our culture is really bad about canceling people really, really fast, all right? I want you to know you don't have to cancel you, okay? This just to remind all of us, this is your first time, okay? This is your first time. So don't come up in here. How arrogant are we to come up into here? We're just born. We show up and we're like, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to nail it. No, you're not going to nail it. This is your first time being you. So give yourself some grace if you don't quite get it the way you want it. Now, we can't just stop there. I need to say one more thing. Very simple again today. Now, with emotions, a lot of it's very simple, but yet you start to, as you unpack it, you realize it's also very profound. Very simple. I hope you get this and understand this today, but I want to just show you one more thing about emotions that I found to be very, very helpful. Now, to get at it, let me just say this. I want to talk about emotions as data, all right? So you might ask the question, what are emotions exactly? I want to kind of define it as, and this is the way I see emotions right now in my life. I see emotions as data or information, okay? I see emotions as teachers, or I see emotions as the way in which the unconscious speaks to us. It's almost, emotions to me are almost the language of the soul. Do you know what I'm talking about? All right, so we're going to get into that in just a minute. Now, to get there, I want to go back to the story that we've been on for about 3 weeks now. This is a story about Jesus and how he's violating the Sabbath, and the religious leaders of his time are watching him because they're ready to make an arrest. They're ready to cut him off. They're ready to give him the death penalty, according to Exodus, although there's some debate of whether or not that was actually practiced. But essentially, Jesus seems to be challenging and breaking the law of the Sabbath. So we'll pick up, this is Mark 3, verse 1, and it goes like this. And again, he entered the synagogue, speaking of Jesus, and a man was there who had a withered hand. They were watching him to see whether he would cure him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Come forward." And then he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath? To save life or to kill?" But they were silent. And here's the verse. He looked around at them with anger. He was grieved at their hardness of heart. And he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately conspired with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. Now, there are a dozen or so verses throughout the entire Gospels where we could talk about Jesus felt emotion. Certainly, he was fully human, all right? But this particular emotion, anger, seems to be repeated throughout the Gospels. In fact, I would argue, if I were making a thesis at Emory, I would say perhaps the one emotion that Jesus felt more than all other emotions is he seemed to feel the emotion of anger more than other emotions. I mean, if you read the Gospels back and back, you start to realize Jesus, he was angry often. And it makes me feel good because I don't know of areas of my life I've ever been like Jesus, but that's one area I'm like, what would Jesus do? He would be angry, all right? So if you find yourself angry, you're in great company. Jesus was too. A lot, actually. I mean, this is just one example. We could fly through passages where Jesus seems to be angry. I mean, the very first thing he does is he rolls up in the temple and flips over tables and grabs whips. I mean, he seems to come into the world with like this anger, all right? Now, I want to get to that. Perhaps why? Like, what could that be telling us? Now, to get there, I want to start with a quote. And this quote is from Susan David. You know, I've been recommending her book. It's required reading for all parents, and it's called Emotional Agility. And Susan David said this. I think it's fantastic. All right, so this is the thesis for today. All right, and here it is. We don't experience emotions about things we don't care about. There it is. Very simple, but yet, if you notice, if you're like me, it's also kind of profound, right? We don't experience emotions about things we don't care about. Leave that quote up for just a second. Let's pause for just a second because you need to take it from here into your life for a second. Do you, by experience, know this is true? Now, I read this, and let me tell you, a couple things happen to me. One is I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Profound. The other is, ooh, I don't like that. And here's why. Let me see if I can explain this the best way. Because I have found in my life that there are things I want it to be true about me that I've so grown and matured that they don't bother me anymore. But yet, if I'm really transparent, vulnerable, and honest, I have all these deep feelings about it. And I don't want to have the deep feelings about it. But I do. And ultimately, I do because I care about it. Okay? Now, I know some of you are like, nope, too vague, Pastor. We want a real life story. All right? I'll give you one. I left the Southern Baptist world. That was the world in which I grew up in. I left it. I walked away from it. Partly because I was drawn into just a larger vision of what could be. And I felt confined. I also left it because there was so much abuse going on. And I mean that like on all fronts. I left it because I couldn't ask questions. I left it because I wasn't reading the Bible they were reading. I wasn't interpreting it the way they were interpreting it. I left it for many, many reasons, but I left it because there was so much toxicity that I had to just get out. It was like being in an abusive relationship. And it's like this spouse, like this partner, like I can't keep doing this. And so I left it. But here's what's interesting. Sometimes I see things that pop out of that world. So it's almost like my past life. You ever think of your past life, you know? But sometimes you'll see something pop out of the past life. Like I'll see someone writing an article about the past life. And inevitably, I don't know what it is, because I'm so far removed from that world, but I'll go, click. And then I'll start reading it. And then all of a sudden, I start experiencing all these emotions. And here's what I want to say. I want to say this phrase. Maybe you've heard this, all right? Someone comes up and like, hey, did you hear about 750 pastors who were charged with like sexual assault in the Southern Baptist Church? I'm like, no, I didn't really hear about that. And I'll use something like this. I couldn't care less about that. Have you ever used that? By the way, it's not I could. We should straighten that out too. It's not if you haven't heard, it's not I could care. I was like, I could care less. You could, we'll care less. All right? No. I'm just helping us. This is a little English. It's I couldn't care less. Okay? So use it, but just couldn't. Anyways, thank you, MDiv. All right, so but you've used this phrase before, right? Like I couldn't care less. Here's the problem with that, is if you'll notice someone when they use it, just observe. Don't judge, just observe. Is there any emotion behind that? Because I think what I was really saying is I would say I couldn't care less, but I would say it like this. I would, oh God, this is showing me big time here. I'm really exposing myself here. I would literally, if someone would bring something up in the past, and it was kind of somebody who was on the fence still about the past, and I would just kind of roll up and they'd be like, did you hear about something? I'm like, no, I couldn't care less. I hope you see past that, right? Because all I see is a performer going, no, I couldn't care less. I mean, you don't even have to go 2 layers in to realize, oh, he cares a lot. Because he's putting on a front like he's like, why would I ever read that? But a part of that, again, now hang with me. I give myself grace. I'm going to tell you why. Because you should give yourself grace, and all of us should give ourselves grace, because all we're doing inevitably, I'm convinced, in most situations like this, just protecting our hearts. In attempt to protect our hearts, right? But if you'll notice someone that says it, watch how they say it. Is there any emotion behind it when they say it? And then, second observation, notice how many times they say it. So I found myself, I couldn't care less. 5 minutes later, couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. Boy, you said that a lot. Maybe it's because you do actually care. Because here's the truth. We don't experience emotions about things we don't care about. If it's something I authentically, genuinely don't care about, I want you to know something. There will be no rise of emotion. You won't even really think about it because you'll just move on. I mean, think about the things that you don't think about. What a weird statement. Think about it. Most of you don't care. I know people in this room that don't care about certain things. I know that because there's no emotional charge with it. I could say something all day long and you're like, what's for lunch? That person genuinely doesn't care. That's amazing. That is amazing. There's certain things I don't care about. I've tried to care about it. There's just certain things I don't. I'm not a big basketball fan. I don't mean to let you down, but my nephew and my wife's side of the family, they're basketball freaks. They love it. They're always like, did you see the game? I'm like, no. And then they look at me with judgment like, what kind of human are you? One that doesn't like basketball? I just don't. Yeah, I don't. And the thing is, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, I don't. You good? Great. Go Tar Heels. Woo. Okay. Some of you spouses, partners, you're like that. You have a partner who likes certain things. My wife, I love my wife because she has tried so hard to like the things I like, vice versa. And I think we've done pretty well in the last few years. I now watch The Real Housewives. Never used to. In fact, I was the husband. I'll admit it. I was the husband. I'd fold my arms and be like, Katie, you're better than this. It's like, and I would just turn my nose up like, we're intelligent humans. We're emotionally mature humans. We don't have time to dull our minds down to this debauchery that is called The Real Housewives. And then what happened was she would just leave it playing. I would be in the kitchen making dinner, doing something, and I would find myself every now and then cutting an onion, just pausing, going, what did she just say? And then it would go further and further till it got to the point where now I sit on the couch with her. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not like, did you TiVo it? We got to watch it Monday, all right? But when it's... the things you can't say that out loud because I can't recover, all right? Dead. I am dead. You get the point. Okay. Let's get to the talk. All right. We don't experience emotions about things we don't care about. That's the point. I just don't. No, I'm just saying, like there are certain people that love certain things, and I've like leaned in. Like I wonder, like if I can experience emotions, and it's like I don't care about it, right? Like, and that's not a bad thing. There's just certain things that we care about, certain things that we don't. So that's the idea. All right. So if you experience an emotion about it, it's because you care about it. I meet people all the time. It's like, God, you really critique the religious world a lot. I want you to know the only reason I critique it is because I deeply love it. Do you understand that? That's it. The only reason we talk about evangelicals is because that's the world I came out of. And newsflash, my entire family are evangelicals. I love them deeply. So I only critique it and talk about it because I want it to be the healthiest thing it can be too. Yeah, I have a passion and compassion for them. I do. And the reason I have a compassion for them is because I was them. I sat in the seats. I did the thing. I was as exclusive as anyone. If you'd have asked me 20 years ago about same-sex marriage, I would have said you are going to burn in eternity forever. That is the truth. But check it out. Something happened to me. Something happened to me. My life was changed and is changing and continues to change. I have grown up. I have evolved. But I got to tell you, I don't look back now at them and be like, look at those unintelligent humans. No, I was just there 20 years ago. So there's like a deep sense of compassion for it. And there's an emotion there. And the reason there is because we care about it. So I would just say set yourself free there for a minute. If you experience an emotion, don't feel like you shouldn't. Let's get rid of the should and shouldn'ts of emotions. You feel what you feel. The question is, why? If emotions are somehow about things we care about, then the question is, what is it that we care about? And could emotions be showing us that? Now, that said, Jesus seems to get angry here. The question is this, okay? Could his anger be revealing something about his passion? Okay? Say it like this. Emotions are data. Emotions are the language of the soul. Emotions are the way the unconscious speaks. Now, I could give you, here's the thing about the soul, all right? The soul is multilingual, okay? It speaks in many languages, all right? I could give you just a few off the top of my head right now. The soul speaks through emotions. So if you ever wanted to know inside that part of you, that internal part of you that you cannot see, if you want to know, how do I know what's going on in there? Because it speaks through emotions. So if you're feeling sad, that is the way, that is the language that the soul speaks. It speaks through emotions. It speaks through imagination, all right? Imagination, that's one way the soul speaks. It also speaks through intuition. So if you've ever felt a nudge, or you've ever felt an intuition, that is one way in which the soul speaks. It speaks through memories. If you keep having a repetitive memory over and over and over again, maybe that is a way that the unconscious is speaking to you. I'll tell you another big one, which I don't have time to go into and I don't know much about, but dreams. Dreams are the language of the soul too. If you keep having a dream over and over and over again, I've got good friends. I'm like, go see them, all right? They do what is called dream works. They help unpack. Why do you keep having this repetitive dream over and over again? Because check it out, when you're asleep, all the faculties are gone. So it is a clean, clear shot to the unconscious. I know this to be true because I have seen it, and I can wake up in the middle of the night and I go, wait, that was a weird dream. And then I'll start connecting the dots to how it happened because it's through the unconscious. And what happens is your unconscious picks up. It's like a filter. It just picks up all this stuff that sometimes you are consciously aware of and sometimes you're not. That's why dreams get really weird sometimes. I mean, I've had moments where I've gone from like Joel Osteen to Real Housewives and somehow they've come together in a dream. And then there's an alligator, and then there's like, a lion that comes off, and then there's, Taylor coming over saying something like he just did. And it's like all that's impact in. And then literally in that moment, I'm going, and I wake up and I'm like, bro. And then you've ever tried to explain a dream to someone? Like, I had this dream last night about you, and here's what happened. And then there's always elements of it that are like, it made no sense. But then I can start connecting it going, oh, wait a minute. That's right. I was in the kitchen, and that show was on. Then it hit here at the same time that I was reading an article about Joel Osteen. And you start putting it, that's the unconscious. So I'm saying there are many doorways, and there are many ways in which it speaks. But emotions are one of them. Now, if that is true, then here's what I'm trying to get at. Emotions could be telling us something. Emotions could very well be our greatest teachers. They could contain information that can help us figure out what matters deeply to us. Emotions are a sign of something we care about. Emotions can provoke learning and discernment for our sense of purpose and meaning in the world. Susan David said this. She said, yes, emotions from blinding rage to wide-eyed love are the body's immediate physical responses to important signals from the outside world. But they are also signals from the inside world. This is true body language. I like to think about it like this. Think of it as a flare gun going off into the night sky. If you are raging flare gun. If you are overjoyed with emotion, flare gun. There is something inside of you happening, and that emotion is the way that it brings it from the unconscious, invisible realm into the conscious, visible realm. So you don't just feel emotions. When you feel them, you're like, oh, you feel them, then you create a space, you pause because you don't want your impulse to control your behavior. Yet at the same time, when the emotion seems to pass, or even when it's lingering on the edges and you've created the space, you pull back a couple notches and you say, what could this be telling me? So the question is, how do I learn the language? Because this is like a foreign language to me. I'm terrible at foreign language. I'm not good at it at all. I've tried Spanish. You should have seen me at Emory trying Hebrew. Oh, God. Our professor used to come in, and the very first class, he handed us the Hebrew alphabet. And he's like, you've got 1 week. 1 week. I want to remind you, when I went to school, I'd been out of school for 20 plus years. He said, you got 1 week to memorize the Hebrew alphabet. I'm like, I still get confused with LMNOP in the English. I'm like, no, I don't have a chance. And then we learned the Hebrew alphabet, and then like week 3, he came in and he's like, I'm going to teach you all a Hebrew song. And then he would walk around, because we're talking a classroom with like 100 plus people. He would walk around, hold the mic during the song. That would be his exams. Do you know it? First of all, I'm like, torture. But he'd be singing something in Hebrew, and he'd walk right up to me and hold the mic, and I was like, oh, say can. Not good at it. But here's the thing. There's been a few laps now. 40 plus. There's been a few laps. And what happens is you slowly begin to learn the language. And you begin to realize, oh, I think I'm understanding what's happening here with these emotions. So, the challenge here is you stop. And maybe you ask this question, what is the purpose of this emotion? What is it telling me? Why does it get me? And then here's a big one. What's buried underneath it? What's buried underneath it? So if we were to ask that about Jesus right now, then the question might go something like this. Why is Jesus angry here? That's a great question. Just pause, think about it for a minute. Why is Jesus angry here? Why does he seem to be angry again and again and again in the New Testament? That is the question. Why are you angry this morning? Now, I know you have like surface level answer, but keep going. Why are you anxious this morning? God, I can't tell you how many times I've asked that. By the way, got a list of reasons. You keep going down them. Why are you sad this morning? Yeah. Is Jesus angry with these Pharisees for not liking him as a prophet? Like, I wonder if Jesus is just angry because he wasn't accepted into the religious realm. I need to pause here. I know something about that. I do. Not trying to put myself in the place of Jesus. Everybody calm down. I know what it's like to not be a part of the in crowd. I do. Just so you know, Vinnings Lake is a bit of an outlier type space. We weren't exactly welcome into the neighborhood, all right? We weren't exactly welcome into the South, to be honest with you. And there were a lot of pastors that were just like, don't like the guy. And I don't know if you know this, I've never met them. They've never met me. They just don't like me, all right? And I realize, oh, that isn't me, that's them. You know what I mean? Thanks, Kevin. He's with me all the time. I love it. All right. So that is the question, right? It's like, what is it? Is Jesus angry because he wasn't allowed in? Is he angry at the Pharisees because they just didn't like the guy? What is he angry about? Is he angry that the Pharisees haven't somehow achieved a change of heart? And Jesus has been out teaching and somehow they're not listening, so he's angry about that. Is he angry at God? Is he angry at God because somehow God has, according to the text, hardened their hearts so they can't see certain things? What is it that Jesus is angry about? Now, here's the thing. I believe Jesus is angry, right? When you whittle it down, I believe Jesus is angry because these religious leaders seem to care more about their religion than they do their neighbor in this moment. These religious leaders have taken a spiritual practice, keeping the Sabbath, that was meant to bring rest and healing and wholeness and life, and they've somehow turned it to use it as a weapon to harm, harass, destroy, and bring death. They have somehow turned this beautiful practice of keeping the Sabbath, and they've now used this practice not as a time to bring healing to the world, but as a litmus test for who is in and who is out. I ultimately believe Jesus was angry because of their lack of love for a human that's hurting. So the question is, what could this anger be telling us about his message, about his purpose, about his way of being in the world, even about his values? What is it telling me? What is underneath it? What could you be feeling right now that tells you about your own values and purpose and meaning and way of being in the world? Maybe for Jesus, maybe it could go something like this. Jesus is angry because he feels like this man is being treated unjustly in this moment. What is this telling us? This is telling Jesus, and it's telling me that justice and equity are important to Jesus. So if you trace the emotion of anger all the way down, what the emotion, the data, the information is telling me is what has surfaced all the way in. It's not something like, well, you shouldn't be angry. No. You feel it. You don't judge it, but you trace it. And at its very core is actually something incredibly beautiful. That he's angry because there's something about Jesus that justice and equity are a top priority for him. So I always say like this too. If you're here and you're like, I don't know what to do with my life. I seem to be in like a liminal space. And I was like, my parents want me to do this, but I don't know what I want to do. What emotions are you experiencing? What lights you up? What angers you? I'm telling you, you can find your life's purpose if you just lean into what your emotions are telling you. And this is true of Jesus. And of course, we know this to be true from the Hebrew prophets forward. Just a reminder, there are roughly 2,103 verses in the scripture about the poor and oppressed crying out. Hear that. 2,103, roughly, about the poor and oppressed. And that's from Judaism all the way through the New Testament. So Jesus is in a long line of prophets. And he's walking into this religious moment, and he experiences this emotion, and he pauses, and he doesn't let it overcome him. Actually, what happens is when he creates the space, the impulse doesn't determine his behavior. What happens in that moment is you begin to see the softening of the anger, because the text says he was angry, and then it goes on to mention another emotion immediately after it, and then he was grieved. So it's like the anger began to soften, and he began to have some deep sense of empathy and sympathy for the people that he was speaking to, because he realizes, oh my gosh, they are the way they are for many reasons. There's a deep sadness that somehow this is what our religion has become. That our religion has become about all these codes and morality about what you can do and what you can't do and how it's all stacked up. And if you're going to get right with God, you got to do X, Y, and Z. And the whole time there is a hurting man in our presence with a withered hand who is crying out. And yet you won't do anything in the name of your religion. That misses the point. That is an injustice. And so if you're here and you get worked up over injustice in the world, congratulations. You're human. And that's a beautiful thing. Give yourself space, but trace it. Trace it down. Find out, why do you care so much about that issue? What is it in you? Yes, you're starting to realize your own values. I can't tell you how many people that have deconstructed their faith and they're so lost. They're like, I don't know what I believe about anything. I'm like, well, let's talk about your values for a minute. What fires you up? Well, I'll tell you what I don't like. Start there. Yes, I don't like this. Great, wonderful. I sense you have an emotion on that. Yes, beautiful. Yes. Now you're starting to figure out what your values are. And eventually you start to figure out what your meaning in life is, why you're here, what you're doing, what do you want to give your energies to? Yeah. Let me give you a couple of examples of this, and then we're done. I told you, it's very simple, very basic, but I wanted you to get this because I wanted you to see emotions as data. And by the way, that'll also help you if you see emotions as data. It will help you not be overwhelmed by your emotions. Okay, so one way to create that space between impulse and behavior is to actually, instead of seeing emotions and feeling them, I mean, like you feel them, but then you realize, okay, the unconscious is speaking. Listen up. It's talking. What is it trying to tell me? I need to listen here. All right, let me give you an example. This goes out to the parents in the room, okay? Just throwing this out here. Have you ever, at any point in your life as a parent, felt any sliver of guilt for not spending more time with your kids? That's kind of a basic, most therapists would be like, very basic. Most parents do have one or two moments where they're like, they have to make a decision between their work, their job, whatever they're doing, and spending time with their kids, be it a ball game, whatever. And sometimes there's like a sense, just a sliver of guilt where you're like, gotta feel a little guilty because I'm not spending more time, or I wish I had been at that game and I'm carrying a little guilt. You ever felt that before, right? I've certainly made decisions of energies in my life, what I'm going to choose to give my energies to, what I'm not. And there have been moments of feeling like guilt. If you're a parent, you're probably familiar with that, okay? Now, here's what I want to say. Just because you feel guilty, first of all, does not mean you're a terrible parent, all right? So let's just start there, okay? Just because you feel guilty does not mean you're a terrible parent. You may not like experiencing guilt, but when you do, it could be showing you there is a dissonance between what I am doing every day and what is important to me. Not spending enough time with my kids. This is a signal that being connected and present with your kids is important to you. Do you hear that? We come down on ourselves so bad, like, oh, I didn't spend enough time with my kids. I feel so guilty. That guilt is a beautiful thing because what it's showing me and what it's showing you is that one of the things you value in life is being connected and present with your kids. And that's amazing. So if you feel guilt, all that means is there may be some dissonance in what you value and what you're actually doing. That's it. That's it. So it's stepping back, going, again, emotions is data. What is this telling me? Okay? I'll give you another example. Stress. You don't have to raise hands. Anybody ever felt stressed in here? I have at times. Okay? What if I told you stress is not a bad emotion? It's not a bad thing. Now, granted, I want to pause here and say, yes, too much stress has some downside to it. Okay? But our culture has pounded in us, no stress, don't stress. I would like to say, stress. If you feel stressful, the worst thing you can do is if you feel stress, to push it down. Don't stress, push it. You do that, and I guarantee you'll find yourself curled up in a ball in your room very soon because you didn't feel it. So he's like, don't stress. No, stress. Now's the time, people. Now's the time. If you've ever wanted to know, is it okay to be stressful? Yes, now is the time. Now, stress, and go for it. Stress it. I mean, really stress it. If you're going to stress, stop doing this halfway stuff. Some of you are like, oh, I feel stressed. I'm going to do yoga. Don't do halfway. Go into yoga really stressed. I mean, turn the mind. I mean, just fume it out. Get it all. Feel it all. Feel all of it. People are like, I want to feel less stress. Maybe the way to feel less stress is you got to walk all the way in it. So walk all the way in it. I always tell people it's backwards, but like go into it. You feel anger? Go all the way. Because you can see what's in there. It was Carl Jung who said, it's the thing in the cave that we don't want to see. But the treasure is in there. So we're terrified. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in there because you're trying to protect yourself. But what if I told you the solution, the healing is in there? What if I told you the healing to whatever is ailing you is in the very thing you're terrified to walk into? Yes, go all the way in the heart of it. We'll walk with you to a certain point. I don't know how to tell you this too. There is a point where you have to walk alone too. I've got all kinds of mentors. They're like, I'm walking. I'm like, are we okay? Yep, we're good. Are we good? Yep, we're good. Okay, it's getting a little bit darker, a little bit more scary. Are we good? Yep, we're good. And then at some point, they're like, we can't go any further. The rest is up to you. Yeah. But I want to tell you this. The monster that you think is in the closet, he's not as big as you think he is. And I assure you that when you walk into whatever it is you need to walk into, it may feel terrifying. But here's what I can assure you, because I walked through it. If you go far enough through all the demons, through all the devils, through all the hell, through all whatever it is that terrifies you, if you go far enough into it, what you will bump up against is perfect love. And I say that with confidence because that is who we are as humans. Our very essence, the deepest part of our being is love. So what if I told you, yeah, you're going to go through some rough stuff, but if you go far enough, you'll hit a wall, you'll hit an ending point or a center, and when you hit it, you're going to go, I didn't know this was, oh my God, there's actually peace. I know, it's available to all of us, and it's in there, and you can get it. It's yours. It's got to go in there. That's why I love the image of Jesus going into the wilderness. Same concept. What did he have to do? He went through all of those temptations. You know what I'm talking about? And then like the Satan image, it's beautiful. Like, I'll give you power. He's like, no, I'm good. He had to go through all of that. And then what happens at the end of the story? He runs into an angel of sorts that restores him. Yes, that's the image. So if you're feeling stressed, great. Feel stressed. It's not a bad thing. The right amount of stressed, whelmed but not overwhelmed, can be a great motivator. As uncomfortable as it feels at times, it's the stress that keeps us moving forward. It's the stress of a deadline, tight but not too tight, that fuels the creativity and motivation needed to finish the project. If you are stressed and you trace it far enough, maybe that stress is showing you that you value integrity and you value it being done right. Yes. Follow it. That's where I've been. Can I share something with you and then we're done? This is true of any emotion. You could say it with anxiety too. I mean, my goodness. Don't be anxious. Don't be afraid. One of my least favorite phrases in the Bible is every time some angelic being would show up, they'd be like, fear not. That doesn't help. Just so we're clear, Jesus, that doesn't help anything, all right? Don't fear. Anytime someone tells me to not fear, I'm terrified of dentists. I still am. I grew up at the orthodontist. Teeth were so messed up. My parents, God love them, they're like, let's use him as the guinea pig to try every instrument that could fit in a mouth. And so I had these horrible experiences, and so to date, even when I go to the dentist, it's just a terrifying experience. But I go in, and they're always just like, and sometimes I'll tell them, I know now, because Katie told me that I'm on a chart, apparently, that when I walk in, there's a thing that says like high risk or something. I don't know. It's so embarrassing. It's like high risk. I'm a grown man, and I walk in, and they're like, hey, buddy. I can't tell you that word, buddy. If anything, y'all have your words? When I meet people, it's like, buddy. I'm just like, I want to punch you so bad in the face. And they're just like, hey, bud, just petting you, like, and they're like, listen, just take a deep breath. Do not tell me to take a deep breath. That does not help me, all right? Like actually that triggers me, just so we're clear. So it's interesting growing up in this way. It's like don't fear, don't be anxious. We're sending out the wrong vibes, all right? Wrong energy. I just flip it to everybody. Yeah. Go be anxious. Go right. Look that devil right in its eyes. Walk right to panic attack. Now I know something about that. I used to be like, how do I stop the panic attack? Now I'm like, let's do this. If we're going to have one, let's just have a big one. Let's go all the way into it because I need to know what's on the other side of it. So I'm going to walk right through it, right? I'm going to walk right through it. There is a point. The point of it is all this. I can't tell you, I felt every emotion. I've had to be so intentional about creating that space so the impulse don't control the behavior, because some days I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, and it can control my whole day. It can control my whole day. I mean, I'm with you. Some of you know, like next week, I just want to say this, next week's going to be a little different. I hope you are here on time because I'm going to teach immediately up front. We're cutting the music because we need to have a conversation about election anxiety. So we're going to have someone come, and I just want you to know this, and we're going to do a meditation together. We're going to breathe a little bit together because I don't know if you know this, there's a lot swirling right now in the collective air of America. A lot is swirling. So I'm going to talk just briefly about politics. I want to help reclaim the idea of it, okay? So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to just breathe a little bit together. So all I'm saying is there's so much, because when we talk about emotions right now, there's so much flying around. And all I'm asking you to do is create a space, feel it all, go right into it. Create a space. Don't let the impulse control the behavior. And then check this out. Maybe at the end of the day, you just pause and reflect and go, boy, that got a rouse out of me. What could that be telling me? It's the language of the soul. What could that be saying to you? And maybe it has something to do with why you're here. Yeah, maybe that's it. So, as a way of benediction, I just say to you, may you feel what you feel. May you recognize you are not your feelings. And may you work to see what your feelings might be showing you in this moment. I love you all so much. Seriously, what a gift that we get to do this. Next week's going to be special. Will you come gather with me? Can we just sit together next week? I don't care your political affiliation. I genuinely mean that. When we say all are welcome here, all right? And I hope that you come and we can just sit together and maybe find that peace that I believe is present for us in these next coming weeks. This week, as we move forward, please know, as a pastor, dude, I'm sending all my energy, love, prayers, everything towards all of us, all right? Let's like set the tone, okay? We don't have to be overwhelmed by our emotions. Let's just show a little bit of emotional maturity. It's going to be all right, people. It's going to be all right. I believe that. I believe love has the last word. I'm telling you, my trust is in that.